Okay, let's dive right into the fast paced, high stress world of global oil shipping. I mean, we're not just talking about dry paperwork here. This is a fiercely competitive, almost cinematic arena where time is literally millions of dollars, and a single contract dictates who survives the storm. Welcome to our explainer on the ASBAT and VO Charter Party. So, before we actually break down the ASB Tank Voya rulebook, we've got to ask ourselves a huge question. What happens when a multi-million-dollar oil shipment goes wrong? Just picture it like a dramatic movie where everything suddenly goes sideways out on the ocean. Who exactly is left holding the bag when bad weather, lost cargo, or sudden port delays strike? Well, let's find out. Section 1. The Global Oil Shipping Rulebook. Now, the ASBATANKVOY governs spot requirements, right? But what's the core dynamic between an owner and a charterer? Well, unlike renting a car for a month in a time charter, a voyage charter is actually a lot more like a taxi ride. The charter, they only pay for the cargo handling. Meanwhile, the ship owner assumes all the heavy lifting, fuel, port disbursements, crew, the whole operating cost shebang. 72. That number right there, that's the ticking clock of the entire industry. You see, 72 hours is the standard lay time granted in these contracts for loading and discharging cargo before some very severe financial penalties start to kick in. Section 2. Freight and dead freight penalties. Okay, clauses 2 and 3 ensure the ship owner gets paid no matter what happens on the water. And this brings us to dead freight, which is a massive financial penalty. It guarantees that whether the charter supplies a full cargo or not, the freight is payable in full. Basically, if you promise to load a certain amount and you just don't, you're still paying for that empty space. And the stakes can get even higher. If the contract allows a 10% tolerance in the owner's option, dead freight is ruthlessly calculated based on the maximum parcel size. We're talking 110%, provided the ship can physically accept it. No way around it. So, establishing this penalty isn't just a shot in the dark. It involves intense calculations. You take the maximum loading draft, you subtract bunkers and stores, and then you compare that against the specific gravity of the cargo. Ultimately, the lesser of the deadweight or cubic capacities becomes your dead freight. It's a high-stakes equation, for sure. Section 3. The Notice of Readiness. The Notice of Readiness, or NOR, is exactly what it sounds like. It's the official notification tendered by the vessel stating it is completely 100% ready to load or discharge cargo. This is the exact trigger that starts that 72-hour laytime countdown. But what happens when this critical notice is tendered outside of strict office hours? Let's look at a real-life legal drama to explain this. Take the vessel Petra Schmidt. The ship arrived at the load port but tendered its NOR at exactly 1 minute past midnight. I mean, this was well outside the contract's allowed 0600 to 1700 hour window, which ended up sparking a massive dispute over when the clock actually started. The arbitrators made a really fascinating ruling here. They decided that because the ship was physically ready, the early notice wasn't a nullity. It just meant the laytime clock legally started at 1200 hours, which is exactly 6 hours after the next permitted 600 window. So the notice was accurate, just non-contractual. Make sense? Moving on to Section 4, Safe Berths and Stormy Seas. Clause 9 demands that the charterer designate a berth that is reachable on arrival. But just picture this cinematic nightmare. You arrive at a designated port with millions of dollars of crude oil, expecting to unload, only to find every single berth occupied by other ships for 9 straight days. Who pays when the port is completely full? Well, in the famous Laura Pruma case from 1982, charterers faced this exact scenario. They claimed they were protected by Clause 6 because the massive 9-day delay was entirely due to congestion and therefore totally beyond their control. But would that actually hold up in court? In a stunning twist, the House of Lords ruled against the charterers. They established that you only get delay protection after you have fulfilled your overriding duty to procure a reachable berth under Clause 9. And because they hadn't done that, the charterers were held fully responsible for the entire delay. So to fight back against these severe penalties, charterers now frequently add the Kanaka weather clause to slash their liabilities during storms. It cuts the penalty to 1/2 laytime or 1/2 demurrage during weather delays. But as we'll see, it's definitely not a bulletproof shield. Just look at the vessel Alaska case. When the charterers tried to invoke this weather clause, the courts denied it twice. First, because they hadn't secured a berth yet, and second, because the cargo itself was found to be defective and off-spec. The big takeaway here? Bad weather doesn't excuse a lack of cargo.
Section 5. The ticking clock of demurrage.
This is the ultimate consequence of running out of those precious 72 hours of late time. Demurrage is the absolute nightmare scenario for charterers. Simply put, it means your time is up and you are bleeding money by the hour, paying liquidated damages directly to the ship owner. And here's the kicker. Even when Clause 8 allows for half-rate demurrage due to specific conditions, it's vital to realize the clock never actually stops ticking. All the time counts. You are just bleeding money at half the financial speed. Which brings us to the most famous, unforgiving, golden rule in all of maritime law. Say it with me. Once on demurrage, always on demurrage. The moment that lay time expires, every single subsequent delay falls entirely on the charterer, unless it's explicitly accepted in writing. So, as we wrap up this explainer, when the clock runs out and the storm hits, is your charter party truly watertight? The ASBATANKVOY isn't just paperwork. It's the bright, shining financial armor of global trade. I really hope this has clarified the stakes for you. Take away this final thought. The next time a storm brews on the horizon, are you absolutely certain who's paying for the delay?